Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coffee with Craig show. We'll be talking about commercial real estate in Central and Eastern Europe. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special edition of the Coffee with Craig show. I'm here with Hubert Abt, who's CEO of New Work and Work Cloud 24. Hubert, welcome to the show. It's great to see you, and thanks for joining us. Now
Pleasure.
we're going to be presenting the fourth edition of the New Work CEE Flex Office Annual Report.
Yes,
And so you've been doing this 4 years. So I assume from year one to year four, maybe you've also analyzed different things, but seen a lot of changes as well. Yeah.
there's a learning curve.
So well, for sure. So let us know what the new information is for the year, and then let's talk about some of the trends that you see changing as well
Yes.
over the last 4 years. So let's kick it off, and let us know what you guys have discovered. Let's say
Yeah,
this year.
yeah. Well, you can wrap up the development basically over the last 4 or 5 years in short. That was basically it's a nice to have tool
Uh huh.
to implement Flex somewhere, which was a big question mark after WeWork disaster. Of course,
Yeah.
is it sustainable in a way,
Right. Right.
right? And then
Yeah. It's like hurt the industry because of mismanagement,
yes,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was a
Mhm.
corporate fault, not fault
Right.
by product or markets.
Right.
And then in the lockdowns, of course, it was again a high question mark, right? Because it starts falling out in the short-term service
Hmm.
agreements.
Hmm.
However, it changed completely, I would say, from end of 2020 towards 2021, in a way that the perception is flex here to stay towards how much flex I really need in my portfolio to serve clients' needs. So this was one big change in the last 4 years. And nowadays we learned already in the year of 2022 that the appraisers or evaluators of the buildings do not discount the building because there is a flex operator,
Hmm.
which was true until 2021.
Right.
It's changed fundamentally. They discount you if you don't have a flex exposure.
Right. I mean,
So
the two big changes I've just seen is, this whole flex office, it really started with, hey, don't work out of your mom's kitchen anymore. Come to our office and you'll have a little space. Two, especially over the years, and probably, when COVID hit, those guys disappeared immediately because they went back to their houses. But from these sort of single person businesses or almost businesses even to real corporate structures. And probably that's one of the reasons the banks are happy
yes,
with this. Yeah.
I won't say that this is already anticipated from the point of view from the lenders or the banks, but it's more anticipated from the point of view of investors that they see that this kind of shared economy takes the fair share out of the real estate as well.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, hybrid workforce, basically the trigger of hybrid workforce due to the lockdowns, is a good argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
share space.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And we have global numbers, of course. So the amount of people working on flex office solutions, kind of hybrid, increased from 1.2 million in 2017
Mm-hmm.
towards 5 million in 2024.
Wow. Big jump. Is that
That's
mainly in the U.S.? I mean, is that
US
globally?
is a
Yeah.
driver, but
Mhm.
this is true globally.
Mhm.
And at the same time, the amount of operation centers doubled in from 2021 onwards towards 2024. So
Mhm. Mhm.
there is no doubt at all that a fundamental change, if you're asking what happens in these 4 years, is that this is a common product accepted as part of the office industry. The only question now is to which percentage.
Mhm. Right.
Is
And
it three, 4, 5? What is it?
I noticed even especially in the just in the U.S. and even we're talking about some of these flex office places, but even in the U.S. and in L.A. and in Pasadena, they're all full.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of them, and they're packed. Yeah, I went in and said, "Hey, can I rent some things?" They're like, "Hey, when?" And I'm
Yeah.
in 2-3 months. I'm like, "No, today."
This trend started to materialize, to be visible in the market in the beginning of 2022.
Hmm.
And the source or the reason for it indeed is another fundamental change, that corporates are signing up for Flex. And that was not the case before at all.
Right.
Before, it was the small, medium entrepreneur, the freelancer
Right.
up to 20, 10 people using kind of co-working environment. But now really corporate sector, even the government sector in US, sign up for flex solutions.
Yeah, even we work in Pasadena, a lot of it was government.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I don't know if they took it just really for temporary, but for flex. I don't know if they were going to stay, once you get them in, they're there forever, right?
Yeah. So we have measurable data, fundamental data analysis. The increase from this sector of clients, means corporates, is 400% over last year.
Oh, okay.
So there is something going on, and that's true for CE.
Right. So
Yes.
are they doing this because they're saving money, or they just don't know what to do because of COVID and this new work
No, it has.
schedule?
My best argument, or what the findings is, that with hybrid workforce, you need to change your space requirement, right? And if we do not even talk about ESG, that's a little bit later, but just as you do not need space for 30% of the workforce because they're only coming in for 2, 3, 4 days, then you need to adjust that. And the best solution in the market is shared economy via flex office. Simple as that.
True. Okay.
It's just a pragmatic approach.
Usable space, or
That's all.
yeah.
Plus, of course, now, since an average lease term is concluded for 5 years in the offices up to 2019, little by little, the subleases increasing. This is also a finding in the report. And that will go on for the next 1 or 2 years until all this portion, which was signed before 2019, comes for renegotiations after 5 years term.
Right.
So this is also driving then. So a company, let's assume, signed in 2017 for 1,000 employees, and now they are facing that they only need space for 700. So they will not extend the lease, or they will only extend a part of the lease, and the rest they park into the flex portion.
Right. Oh,
So-
natural. Yeah.
Natural. Yes. There is no surprise in that one.
So almost the more disruption, the better it is for flex office operators.
Yes, I mean, but it's a trend of the time.
Right.
We will not come to the idea anymore, to pay for anything like we do not have computers in a way that we store data. We do it in the cloud.
Right. Yeah.
We do not purchase the car. We rent it or lease it, or only pay for the services.
Sure.
Now, resi for rent is the same trend, right?
Right.
You do not go in, to sign a lease to stuff out the entire apartment, signing up for electric consumption, IT, or waste management. You're getting everything serviced.
Right.
So it's a common trend into today's society.
Right. Yeah. So, yep. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So,
And of course, the energy crisis now will support a lot towards corporations going to flex, because if you see 200, 300% increase in service charges and utilities by reconciliation, which will happen now in the first quarter, everybody will take that as a reason for checking their space adjustments.
they know it's going to happen, but they'll be paying for it in April, probably March, April. They'll be paying.
But when it's getting visible, you're getting the call from the landlords, or the first warnings, reconciliation is due, energy prices are up, or we're running out of our contracts, this is the point where people start to think about, and what would be then an alternative, of course, flex.
Right.
Yes.
Saving some money on energy as well.
Yeah. So finally, another big change happened now in 2022. What we call space in the cloud means that corporate companies come in and say, listen, I need to have 100 space for 100 employees, but I only want to sign up for 50 because they're coming in 2 shifts, or they're coming in different days of the week, hybrid work, right? So they're signing up 100 times for a mobile application where they can book the space in advance, but they also can book space in different locations for different purposes, meeting, private office, collaboration, whatever. And that means the core commitment on the so-called core lease is 50% down. And you then have a net value proposition towards your employees, because they book as they go.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the bill is always lower. And then it comes also a social aspect. If you do not commute to the office to read an email, you save time, which you book in your private part of the work-life balance, and you save carbon emission and money for commuting. So you have a lot of aspects which dealing into.
Yeah, it's all part of their corporate ESG plan. Yes, how to save on even transport
And
to
I,
work.
I guess this is the last most important finding, that this trend of ESG compliance, which appeared the last 2 years in the investment world,
Hmm.
now swaps over towards the leasing, to the leasing industry.
Right.
And that's true for all asset classes. That means as soon a corporate client is on the table who has a responsibility for ESG reporting,
Hmm.
he will put this request on the table for offices as well.
Right. Right. And I notice it more in the US where the agents are already saying, here's a building that will fit your ESG requirements or that should. I don't see it so much in Central Eastern Europe where they're offering, but it probably is
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
on the way. Yeah.
The only question is, who is first? We
Right.
had this discussion in December,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
On a panel, who is first and why should we start? So yes, I mean, you choose if you're in the pack, leading the thing, and you're getting harvesting the precious tenants everybody looks like, or you're just running behind, and you're then behind,
Right.
right? So
Well, first has already happened, right? I mean,
yeah,
you've got some big developers like Glamco and Echo Investment and these guys that are already putting not only but already putting ESG in
yeah,
place in their buildings and
yeah,
they're leasing and selling them
yeah.
to
But
companies
but
that are
it's
looking at that.
yes, I mean, we also tailor-made developments. We saw that also in the report. There's Südkreuz Berlin for Vattenfall for 50,000 square meters, and they call it Office 4.0.
Oh, very
So they're
good. Yeah.
implementing also the flex concept, even they occupying the entire
Hmm.
building, into their space requirement with software, with booking software and sensors.
Hmm.
That's also, let's say, last but not least, smart building technology is on the forefront to be the next hot thing,
Right. Right.
because you need to measure occupancy, utilization, movements. It starts on the entrance control, it goes over to the elevators, it goes then in the space by the usage. And it's basically what they do already in the retail.
Hmm. Hmm.
As
Yeah.
soon you're running into a shopping mall and you're getting the access point for Wi-Fi,
Hmm.
they measure you.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're always. Well, I think even over Bluetooth, right? They're already. If you're on if
They know
Bluetooth is turned
exactly.
on, I see they're
Yes.
tracking me.
Yes, and I saw an interesting post from Nepi Broadcastle. They save 4 million euros in their social media campaign just by measuring people are what they're doing in the shops by Wi-Fi control. So the metadata is there,
Mhm.
technology comes in, and that will come for reality for offices as well.
Right. Well, if they're saving 4 million on digital advertising, they must be spending quite a lot as well. I mean, it sounds like a big.
Yeah, well, that's maybe a pitch worth a pitch for you.
Yeah, for the yeah. Well, we're more like events with big
Yeah,
cigars
yeah.
and whiskeys and things like that. But yeah, of course, it's a great
But but
great way to
but
go.
to round it up,
Hmm.
if you're getting these high energy bills, you need to disclose the data towards your tenants to engage them. And by changing the user behavior, you can realize 40%, easy 40% of energy spendings, right?
Hmm.
So it's not so much to isolate the building, and invest in heat pumps and geothermy. The low hanging fruit here is really engaging the tenant, disclosing the data, communicate to get the engagement, and then changing the user behavior. So we are already from the smart building, space in the cloud, smart building towards the ESG compliance.
Right. So if you're talking, or one of the kind of big corporate end users is watching us now, and like many of them, they haven't done anything for 3 years, just keep extending the lease. What advice would you give them? Let's say in 30 seconds, where should they start?
Come to WorkCloud 24.
Okay.
We are doing ESG consultant, ESG software, and ESG certification. So everything you need to make your space compliant, to make your property or company compliant is there. That's the answer.
Be ESG compliant, and all the employees will be happy, and they're going to save some money.
And of course, we are happy to issue a proposition to each building or space from New Work when it comes to flex office usage.
Right. Well, there's a lot of office buildings, especially that have been on the market a few years, that must need to do some updates, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
it's mentioned in the market report from
Hmm.
London. The space which is under renegotiation in as we speak is 40% more than after the global financial crisis. So it
Wow.
was never
Okay.
seen before.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
guess it's 24 times the GERG building. on a comparison. So it's a huge amount, which is uncertain committed, you can say so, right? Which is in move,
Right.
in transition. So yeah, there's a high time now, considering the high interests and the low debt cover ratio coming with the high interest, to fix at least the product, to be able to get a refinance.
Yeah, it's a lot of costs.
Yes.
It's a lot of costs that are not even hidden, just not being used. And you mentioned technology, and yeah, we're in a prop tech conference in that we're media partners of in London next month, and I thought, oh, there's probably 1,000 people going or something. There's like 15,000.
Yeah, according to the latest data, it's 10,000 prop techs in the world, from which of 4,000 are only in Europe.
Right.
So it's a significant, fast increasing segment.
Yeah, it's growing.
The only
quick and-
problem, only 4% of them is in use.
Well, I looked
So
at the list. I didn't see any real estate people I knew there, but I thought, well, I better go and at least start seeing what's going on.
That's exactly my experience when I was on a prop tech in Frankfurt in 2022, and then I was on the expo and I didn't find a match.
Yeah,
So the people are in the expo should be on the prop tech and vice versa, but there is a gap of communication.
Well, we'll see how this one is. It's
Okay.
2023 in London. We'll see if I know any real estate people
Okay.
that are there, but we'll bring them some ideas
Yes.
anyway. And that's why we're media partners of it. So, Hubert, thank you very much for being part of the
Pleasure.
Coffee with Craig show and telling us a little bit about the Flex Office report, and always looking forward to more. And next month, we have ESG report coming out, yeah?
Yes, that's
Okay.
Workload 24 findings about the world real estate ESG digitization.
And we'll put a lot out for that, and also in our magazine for MIPIN. So a lot coming up on the ESG for them. So thank you again for being part of the show. Everyone, thank you for watching the special edition of the Coffee with Craig show, and we will see you tomorrow morning for the news. Click here to subscribe to the Coffee with Craig show, and don't forget to share it with your friends.